Hello beauties! Have you ever looked so closely to an idol you've been fangirling over that you accidentally found your own soul staring back at you? That happened to me. At first it was Jungkook. The voice, the charm, the magnetism, the charisma. The perfect timing of 7, both the clean and the explicit versions. But over time, the more I watched him, the more I started to see me. Following Synchronicities, I decided to make this trilogy video. And the first one is this one, titled Why We Are Spiraling Over Jungkook, What He Awakened in Me. But let me say this up front, this is a personal sharing. I'm looking at things from a spiritual perspective. It's not a fangirl rant, and it's something very vulnerable to me. You are welcome to move along if this doesn't resonate with you. But if this touches something in you, watch it. Watch all the 3 videos. And I would love to hear your experience and your perspective if you share it with me in the comments after you watched. Last week I gave a presentation. It was for the end of my 6th year of Holographic Astrology course. And this presentation is a key element in a series of synchronicities unfolding along this whole spiral. The date of this astrology presentation was set like about 2 months ago, so around May, I think. And it was set for the 17th of July. Synchronistically, on July 14th, the long-awaited and not announced at all, unexpected live with Jungkook and Jimin suddenly popped up. And then 2 more hours followed with Jungkook alone, which I joyfully cherished while cleaning the house and preparing lunch and even vibing with my mom, my 8 years old mom, in the kitchen over his version of the soda pop. Soda pop. And then on 15th of July, there was another live with Jungkook and RM and V and Jimin and Hobby. So like they flooded us. Besides the joy of watching them fooling around, fully enjoying them fooling around and being so adorable, as well as being so nourished by Jungkook's singing. I love his voice. This synchronicity, the fact that these 2 lives on the 14th and 15th came right before my presentation, this gave me a boost for my upcoming presentation. Our teacher let us choose whatever we want to talk about, as long as it was on topic, and that's Alchemical Transformation. What Alchemical Transformation is, I will make a whole video about it, but in short, it's about the ability to transform within ourselves everything that is like impure and like our thoughts, our dark side, our vulnerabilities. Use them as opportunities rather than obstacles, and transform them by constant awareness, fire of action, so that the best of us the gold of us comes to life, the purity of our soul comes to life. We were supposed to give examples of people in our lives, or people that inspire us, and present their chart and see how it's like certain aspects are reflecting from their alchemical point of view in their lives, in the way they live their lives. So I chose Jungkook. But as I was working on interpreting his chart, the focus started to shift. It became less about him, more about the impact that he has on me and on many millions of other people. And my perspective on this, my experiences, just from perceiving him energetically, the whole thing became personal, intimate, even healing, and very mysterious. I would like to share with you parts of this presentation, and don't worry, this won't be an astrology lesson. So I will not go into planetary explanations and terms and houses and I will just focus on the qualities. I'll translate what it means. I will not use an astrological language. I'll do my best at least. I want to share with you what I discovered about myself, about resonance, and about what Jungkook awakened in me. If you are into astrology though, and you are someone who is curious about more precise elements of my presentation, because it's an alchemical point of view, it's not the usual interpretation of the chart, then I can make a video about that and place it in the, I'll make an astrology playlist on my channel, and I can put a video there. Just let me know. So what mattered right now for this video is that astrology turned out to be a great tool that helped me understand my emotional patterns, my longing, and the healing I didn't know how to reach before. So let's go into it together. According to my chart, the core direction of my soul's journey is about navigating deep emotional growth through relationships, through joy, and through creativity. It's a path that requires me to interact with people, many people, and to keep my heart open along the way, while other aspects in my chart show my introvert nature, my deeply introvert nature, where I prefer to just spend time by myself all day long, week after week in the forest. Emotionally, I have carried a strong inattention for most of my life, ever since I can remember. And the environment I grew up in was contributing to that, as it usually does. There was a tension between what I feel. I was often told that I am a hypersensitive person. How I express what I feel, which is usually saying nothing. And then at some point I reach a limit when I become very clear, outspoken, straightforward, and I cut through everything, and it's really disturbing for the people who are hearing, because they don't expect that at all. And then also between how I feel this hypersensitivity and how I act on these feelings, which is again very straightforward and confident. It's created a lot of emotional conflict within me over the years. What I've been told the most was like, you should get yourself in line with the rest of the world. It also made me make very poor choices in all my relationships, with my friends, work colleagues, not the jobs themselves, but the people. Even with my mother. And with my mother, it's not like this, I believe I chose her as my mother for my soul to truly learn these lessons. Overall, my relationships have been a constant source of disappointment, but also the ground of my eventually emotional awakening and healing. What helped me make this shift was connecting with a deeper layer of my soul, one that opened me to spiritual connection, the ability to choose to see the good in others while setting clear boundaries. Big lesson. And to feel someone's soul beyond the surface of their personality. But to stabilize myself in that place, I had to develop real discernment. I had to really work on deciding, on discerning like what is what. Like this person says these things, but their actions are showing something else. There's a pattern in their actions that is completely going another direction and telling something else, and that's more real than what they are promising me, telling me. And I used to fall easily for what people told me. So it took me a lot of discernment, a lot of work with discernment, a lot of clarity in my mind, like ability to, like imagine if you're in an ocean and then you're under the water, like whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like everything is like blurry and you're splashing around and you're trying to grasp for air, and this water is like, that's how emotionally engulfed I used to feel. And then once in a while you're like grasping for a breath of air, and there was like, okay, that's reality. And then you calm down, and then you know that if you relax, you just like lie on your back and your body naturally will lift the bottom up, and you can just like relax, breathe. This is where there is the air. So it's more like that. That's what I mean by discernment. Make the difference between what is pure, clean air and what you need to do, how you need to hold your body and behave while you're in the middle of the ocean, so that you can actually breathe, relax, versus all the agitation you get into, hoping not to drown. So I had to learn to be quiet, but not be silenced without shrinking. How to love people despite the cues that I'm getting, like how to love someone who's telling me, promising me things or offering me things that I can see from their body language and their previous actions and future actions even, that they're not holding their word. Still love them without closing my heart, without losing myself, without judging them, but still drawing clear lines, like, okay, if you say this and you're like that, you're this kind of person, the time I want you around me, it's significantly like 2 hours a month max. We go out and we have a drink, like a tea, because I don't drink alcohol, and that's good enough. We chat, and whatever promises they would make me, I just would smile them off, rather than, I had to learn to not be angry at these things. Rather walk away from them. Not because I reject them, but because I follow my path, I walk my direction. Another key aspect of my nature that is shown in the chart is that to heal myself emotionally, to not be disappointed and not feel like I'm drowning in an ocean of, I don't know, lies and cheating and betrayal. Yes, I am aware about the wound of betrayal. I will talk about that at some point also. I needed to learn to root myself in inner peace and fulfillment, in self-acceptance, self-love, and to trust life, to trust God, to choose love. The solution also was for me to stay grounded in spiritual guidance rather than mental explanations or just personal development, which is good, and it was a stage I went through, but there's more to it. There's a part of spirit that is beyond the mind that is required to access for the true fulfillment to settle in our hearts. Now I'm speaking about us, but I started talking about my chart, so come back to me. I just think it's valid for a lot of people who have similar aspects like my chart. Another alchemical solution from my chart is that I have the ability to enter easily in a kind of sacred erotic trance, a state of deep relaxation and heightened awareness, where intimacy and sensuality became an emotionally healing current. The more I explore this state as a solution for my inner emotional balance, the more at home I felt in it. It was soft and quiet, dreamy, centered, expanded, flirtatious, playful, like a suave dance of the soul. The opposite of performance or kink. It's more like a fulfillment without needing to take or prove anything. And this state is key in how Jungkook deeply impacted me for over 1 year. And I'll give you an example for this later in the video. To sum up my presentation, because I'm sharing with you my presentation, the main points. The process I've been going throughout my life taught me to find comfort in silence and in the time that I spend with myself. And that means like silent retreats, like week-long retreats, organized retreats, but also by myself, like simply to just go and do things by myself and find comfort in that, in my own presence, in the way I am. To connect with the angels and divine guidance, to free myself from codependency. Oh, wow. To let go of toxic relationships without any regrets, because I used to feel guilty for letting go of people. To just accept myself as I am, to know my weak points and work on them to improve them as an opportunity rather than as a curse. To dive into this state of erotic trance, ecstatic feeling, to explore my sensuality, intimacy as inner states of the mind, more than actual interactions with people. Although I had a lot of interactions with people first, because I have been a tantric masseuse for about 10 years. So I cannot rule out that experience. But at some point, I reached a limit. It was not fulfilling anymore. So I had to shift from the actual physical interaction with people to a state of the mind, to take it deeper inside. I have learned that this kind of experience, like reaching out for emotional support outside of myself, only to be disappointed repeatedly, and probably you can relate to this. This isn't a punishment, it's a tension, but it is also where God wants to give us our power back, for those of us who feel like that. Not by force, but by developing discernment, responsibility over our own life and feelings, and redirecting them towards the source, the real source of ultimate fulfillment. I have learned to no longer choose someone to help me when I needed support based on circumstance relationships or my emotional urgency. Instead, I learned to stay centered, to observe who is already present in my life. And it can be an actual physical person, but it can also be a virtual person. Because sometimes God loves me and shows up through the wonder of the unexpected. And here we arrive to Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS. Through his mere public presence, he triggers a planetary phenomenon that touches the lives of millions of people. And while some get lost in the attraction and the fascination, and others are triggered negatively and become jealous or envious, for most, he represents the call to become alive, authentic, and good. Such a person is a catalyst, someone that triggers evolution. However, the how-to, the method, what do I do with this? That's on me. No matter how inspired or helped we are by someone, we must find our own center. So, following with the presentation, now let's look at the chart of this catalyst, Jungkook. And first I will focus on the way he acts. There's a specific element in his chart that is indicating his way of action. In the way he moves, both on stage and in intimate spaces. His chart shows the following qualities. He has an inner hidden power and emotional intensity. He is passionately magnetic. He has erotic refinement and the ability to elevate sexual instincts to the level of pure love. He is destined to travel a lot and have global impact. His best way to communicate what he likes and wants is through his creativity. He has a richness of authentic freedom, inner self-worth. He is destined to always be rich, prosperous through innovation, by defying norms and redefining standards within the field he is active in. His chart also shows that he himself keeps saying, and that he is destined to be a global artist, a singer who constantly breaks his own records. This is what truly brings him fulfillment and purpose. There is an inner tension in him between his mission to impact the world and the personal sense of worth. And I focused on this tension, especially in his chart, to see the alchemical solution for this tension. This tension generates a kind of magnetizing pull, so people are magnetically attracted to him. It activates sensual longing. It feels like an intimate connection without actual physical touch, and makes some want him as a person, while his incentive, his message, is to impel people, to impel us, to become a better version of ourselves just by watching him exist. His charisma and expression of refined erotic energy, radiant, magnetic, sensual, charismatic, deeply transformative, is very obvious in his astrological chart. It is not about seduction, it is about soul-level resonance. And what amplifies Jungkook's magnetism is his humbleness. He is always growing, both as an artist and as a human. He radiates genuine love towards his fans, creating a feeling of real connection. We all feel like really connected to him somehow, and to each other. But that same light also triggers its shadows: jealousy, envy, betrayal from his fans, and even from some of the staff of his company. And yet, he remains kind. He sets boundaries, he protects his space, but he doesn't get bitter. He doesn't log off, he doesn't close his heart. He stays pure and loving. And that, to me, is true power, true spiritual power. There is a pure, magnetic, refined eroticism in him that simply radiates. How does this actually impacted me? I looked at our combined charts, specific elements, and the most important one that I focused on was the fact that there was a direct connection between his soul path and the core direction of my soul's journey, especially regarding emotional healing in me, which I was born to resolve in this lifetime. His presence, the way he fulfills his destiny as a once-in-a-generation global artist, his ambition, his constant self-improvement, this simple fact that he lives like that publicly, it activates something healing in me emotionally. And I believe there are many others like me who can feel this. He inspires me towards joy, fulfillment, and emotional autonomy. The way he shows up publicly, even as an introvert, or even more so because I know he's an introvert, it helps me step out of my own shell. If someone as sensitive and private as him can share so much good and love with the world we live in, then maybe I can do it too, with my own skills, in my own way. I'm starting to believe I can live with inner richness and become more visible without losing myself, in fact being fully myself. So here's the example I promised earlier on. It's about an experience I had with Jungkook, but it was subtle, in the invisible, while I was working as a masseuse in a corporation. The job was repetitive and physically demanding. It was like 6 to 7 hours a day, massaging office people who were drained from staring at screens, trapped in chronic back pain, shoulder pains. There were no breaks in between massages, just one person after another, pain after pain. And I only had like half an hour lunch break. It was not fulfilling. It was not a fulfilling job at first. The key to surviving it was to surrender to live in the middle of the paradox. My paradox. On the outside, I was doing technical, physically demanding work, but on the inside, I was living in complete stillness. I anchored my awareness into a quiet inner world. I stopped engaging in small talk with the clients and let the silence in the room become sacred. The soft background music became a gentle portal for them to relax and for me to travel. And in that stillness, Jungkook appeared, not from my memory, not from my fantasies, but as a real, energetic frequency. Because I would deliberately stop replaying videos with him in my head. That was in his 7 and golden era. I wanted something I hadn't seen or imagined before. I wanted a real, invisible experience. And what I discovered is that the void itself, in the midst of the intensity between the visible and the invisible world, was the doorway. I would simply become extremely quiet inside while my body was doing the massage, the heavy massage part. I would simply whisper his name like JK, and he would appear spontaneously. He was tender, pure, playful, skilled, very skilled, and always present. In that space, I experienced the most profound sensual intimacy of my life. He wasn't physical, but he was trance-like, erotic, deeply sacred, alive, in the middle of the profane. Sometimes he would simply hold me. Other times he was passionate, playful. He would multiply, transcending gravity, all beyond 3D. The floor wasn't solid anymore. Objects like a chair were transparent. Time dissolved. I discovered new sensations in my body, new pleasure points I'd never known. But more than that, there was a presence, a healing communion, a euphoric intimacy beyond touch, directly into my soul. These experiences lasted for about a year, and something miraculous happened. The same massage work that used to drain me began to energize me. 6 to 7 hours of massages became like 6 to 7 hours of presence, ecstatic bliss, and spiritual, emotional nourishment. I would come home tired, but it was like sweet tiredness in the body, not depleted, regenerated, fulfilled. And often we would continue. Those of you who dream of him during the night, you know what I mean. This inner world experience didn't disconnect me from the outside world activity, from the people I worked with and I massaged while I was having these experiences. It deepened my connection with them. There was no separation. Actually, they were unfolding simultaneously. My clients could feel there was something else than me just being a good masseuse. I was fully booked all the time. And they came not just for the physical massage, but for that something else that they couldn't name, they couldn't tell what it was. They opened up emotionally, sharing their lives with me, asking me for advice. Our relationships got closer. Their feedback on me was like, you're a really good masseuse, but there's something more. It feels like you're massaging not just my body, but my mind, my emotions. Something deeper is happening when you massage me, when you touch me. And it was. I was transmitting what I was feeling. This is only one example that I wanted to share of how Jungkook's impact on me helped me heal emotionally in relationship with other people, activating the core direction of my soul's journey. Core direction of my soul journey is my life lesson. If I don't learn this, it means I've lived for nothing. So it's like the most important reason why I am alive from the spiritual point of view, from God's point of view. So it's essential. Jungkook, thank you for being you, and thank God for this beautiful unfolding of life. Moving on, I concluded my presentation saying that I believe that every inner tension, every so-called square in our birth chart is actually an invitation. And the people we meet, even from a distance, can become instruments through which God reminds us of who we truly are. When we begin to understand ourselves, even a little, through the soul map, through the soul's map, through the map of the soul, we start to see why certain people impact us so deeply. And we learn how to integrate that impact without losing our center. True mastery doesn't come from controlling what's outside, but from how we choose to see what's already present in our lives. Astrology is not about predictions nor fast solutions, but it offers something much more valuable, a map for the inner journey, one that reveals subtle clues for how to walk through our own emotional and relational labyrinth with more discernment, humility, and courage. And in the end, the choice is always ours, to live blindly, reacting in fear to what we feel, or to embrace our own transformation gratefully and with reverence for all the catalysts of grace, God, and life places on our path. After all, it wasn't random that RM once said during the BTS concert,
What is loving myself? What is loving yourself? I don't know. Who can define their own method and the way of loving myself? It's our mission. It's our mission to define our way to love ourselves. So it's never intended, but it feels like I'm using you guys to love myself. So I want to say one thing. Please use me. Please use BTS to love yourself.
This message from RM suddenly gained a different meaning. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I've been following Synchronicities, and here we are, a trilogy of videos, unfolding around something I call divine euphoric intimacy. After my presentation, I got a feedback from my teacher. He said, "You are very honest, see through, and most importantly, you're conscious. You entered that Delulu state without getting lost in it. You used the phantasm to heal yourself emotionally. Congratulations. Please keep offering presentations like this. It's very inspiring." But his words made me ask a deeper question. I asked him, what's the difference between a phantasm and an illusion? Because from what I've learned so far and from my experience so far, this whole world is in a way an illusion, a dreamlike reality through which we're meant to learn and grow and remember who we are and help others do the same. So was he saying my experience was just illusionary, not a real connection energetically with Jungkook like I thought it was in the astral field? And this is what he answered. He said a phantasm is created deliberately. It is young, like as in yin and yang. It is consciously allowed to exist. An illusion is yin. It's something you fight to escape, like daily life scenarios that drain you. Both use the energies of the astral plane, he said, but the phantasm is invited while the illusion is received. The phantasm acts as a catalyst. It's like, what? This distinction shifted something in me, because what I experienced wasn't something I believed in blindly. It was something I chose to engage with consciously. Jungkook would not appear unless I called his name. He showed up whenever I was like, JK, and he would show up. So yes, it was a phantasm that I would invite consciously. And yet, that experience transformed me. This was not about a fantasy escape. This was about a mirror, a soul mirror, my soul mirror, which helped me heal and show me that the key for healing is in the 0 point where truth and creative imagination actually meet. The night after my presentation, I went to bed with all of this swirling in my mind. I genuinely wanted to understand deeper what was really going on with me. What is the difference exactly between imagination and the soul truth? And after about 6 hours of sleep, I woke up and checked my phone, and there it was, another synchronicity. This girl, Jackie, I follow her on Instagram. She's fun, warm, beautiful, and really smart, I think. However, she's posting a really thoughtful, well-edited video for baby armies like me. And by the way, with her help, I didn't freak out and I managed to get tickets for Jin's upcoming concert in London. So Jackie, at some point in the future when you will be watching this, thank you so much. So Jackie often posts about BTS and Jungkook, but in that specific morning, she posted this.
And I just want to scream into the void until the end of time because I am so in love with this man.
The words she used, scream into the void until the end of time. Because of how much love I feel for this man. This hit me right in the heart, like void, very familiar. End of time, yeah, no time, another dimension. Love, because this love gets me there. Yeah, only love can get us beyond time and space, into the heart of everything, void. That's exactly what I had just described in my presentation the day before. A love so vast, it spills beyond logic, into soul, into silence. And then Jackie asked,
It's actually scary and it makes me sick. I have never felt this way about another human. Personality, body, face, hair, hands, feet, voice. What are we supposed to do about this? Like, what are we actually supposed to do with these feelings?
what are we supposed to do with these feelings? Like, she was a bit frustrated, obviously. And this question echoed in me because I realized, wait, I have these feelings and I've done something with them that got me to an emotional healing process. And then I realized this is something I need to share, hence this video trilogy. It's something that I already lived, I've integrated it, and I transformed inside me. So I'm hoping it's something inspiring for those of you watching this as well. And since I'm not the only one having these feelings, intense feelings, I really wish more people who feel like this for Jungkook. I believe the way of handling it, it's the same. So, further than that, because I always like to go very far with things, I immediately started researching. I wanted to understand what else was there beyond understanding it from the astrological chart and from a psychological point of view. For a couple of days there was nothing. Nothing really spoke to me until suddenly I found something. Something that quenched my thirst for meaning. And it is rooted in Buddhist Deity yoga, a form of yoga that implies a state of void, scream into the void, state of void of the mind, where we finally let go of our limited personality beyond time, beyond ego and limitations, limited personality and ego, and instead we identify with a deity to the extent in which we see and perceive ourselves to be the spirit alive within. Wait, so there is a pattern, this is actually a method. In Buddhist deity yoga, they worship a deity to the extent in which they become the deity. Okay, Jungkook is not a god, but we see him as a god. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, he's a great artist. He's a very handsome man. But we are the ones seeing that in him. So what's to stop us from seeing that in us? So I will be sharing a third video about this, specifically about this form of yoga and this approach as a method in how we can love an idol, be it human like Jungkook, being God, I'm not equating Jungkook with a god again. I'm pointing to the fact that it is us who has these feelings towards that something outside of us. It is us who puts power and energy into another person outside because of the love we feel. So I'm gonna look into this in the third video because I want to take like a deeper dive into the nature of the mind, how it creates illusions and idols, and how all of that can actually be used to awaken our soul and become who we really are. This does not places a person on a pedestal and does not take a deity off the pedestal. There are layers, there are resonances. This is more shifting the perspective. It is us who look both at the person on the pedestal or not, and it is us who connects, who prays to a god, to a deity. I'm just shifting the perspective on us. It is our action, it is our choice. So what if we are sharing same qualities with that person we worship or with that deity we idolize? If this first video touched something in you, please join me for the second video, where I will share more about how this whole spiraling process led me to discover something life-changing: euphoric divine intimacy in everyday life. It's a different kind of love story. It's not a story about dreaming to marry Jungkook. It's not even about finding the one. It's a story about becoming the one you were always meant to be.